On this edition of the Small Interview, RVTV producer and RVTV Director of the Year, Wanda Borland. Hello and welcome to the Small Interview with Glamour Dave. I'm your host, David Glamour Dave Nienow, and this is my show where I get to interview favorite people of mine here in the Valley, and today I have as my special guest Wanda Borland, who is one of our producers here at RVTV. She has been my principal director for many of my shows that I've produced here in the last year and a half. In fact, I did a double check at IMDb and found that she has directed 34 of my shows here at RVTV. And so today we're going to talk to Wanda. And so I thank you, Wanda, for coming on to the show.
Thank you for having me, David.
Yeah. So, this is great to be able to kind of talk to you about what brought you to RVTV and talk about our work experiences here together. Because you have been a very big help to me in the last 16 months as I've find myself doing what I'm doing here at RVTV. So it was last week during our last production of my Glamour Dave show that I had reached my milestone of 50 productions as producer and host here at the studio. And you're responsible for directing like 34 of those. Of my shows here. So, and your advice and support has been extremely helpful for me as I've find myself doing this. So this, in a way, having you on my show is a way to kind of thank you, actually, for all that help in the last 16 months. So let's begin by what brought you to doing this work here at RVTV?
Well, it was about 5 years ago when I discovered RVTV.
Yeah.
And things were a little more relaxed then, and people could come off the street and come into the studio and actually operate the cameras.
Yeah, right.
And so that was the environment that a friend invited me to come, and I believe it was on Kumud Gokani's Cooking with Kumud program.
Yeah.
And of course that's a program that can really draw you in.
Yeah.
So that was a very intriguing experience. And then when I walked down the hall and got a glance into the control room and saw the TriCaster production system with the 3 monitors and the big control surface, that's what really, I want to learn how to operate that thing.
Yeah.
I didn't fully understand at the time that to operate that, you need to learn how to produce, you need to learn how to direct. So I started learning how to do those things.
Yeah.
And when I first started coming to the studio, I just felt like I know nothing. I'm so confused.
Yeah.
But the more times you come in and volunteer
Right.
and work on the various shows, and you get to do the lighting, operate the camera, set up the audio, and then do graphics, direct and produce. I just found that I really love it.
Yeah, well, it very much is a very involved process to put a show together. And at first glance it can seem intimidating. But really once you kind of come in on a regular basis, and that kind of goes away, and it really becomes something that's easily anyone can learn to do. It's just a matter of just taking a little bit of time and coming in consistently. And and the fact that the TriCaster board you found attractive enough to want to tackle that. I find really great, because I actually look at that still and go, okay, I don't know if I'm ready to really tackle that or not, although I've gotten familiar enough to be able to at least load up my stuff for my shows. right, and kind of get around on the setup end of things.
Mm-hmm.
But there's still a lot of buttons on that board that that still, like, I don't really understand that, and I still haven't. I know there's like a lot of videos on YouTube that's supposed to teach how to use that, but I'm so busy with 4 series here at the studio that I still haven't had time to even look at one YouTube video on the TriCaster. But but boy, you have it down pretty good, and I'm grateful that you have taken on that challenge and really kind of mastered it. I mean, you to a point that you're our RVTV Director of the Year for 2018
For 2018.
at the last Soda Awards. So, that's very much a reflection of your commitment to quality production work, and I very much appreciate that because you're a big help. So.
Well, thank you. And I just would like to say that we are in need of more producers and directors, so
Yes,
come on
we
in.
definitely.
And also, you do a great job loading up your graphics, and it's just a very small step, David, to
Yeah.
move over into the director's seat.
Yeah,
So
I
I'd
know.
like to encourage you
Yeah.
to go ahead and take that leap. But like you said, you are producing several shows that are series.
Yeah.
So that means you are obligated to produce a certain number of programs, and I don't know how you do it, David. I don't know how you do it. I think you get your genes from your mom, because your mom just keeps going and
Yeah.
going and going also.
Yeah. Well, I do plan out really down the road, and I'm always like fiddling at trying to just keep doing little things towards, getting things organized. I mean, I'm really good at organizing, So
That's interesting.
It's kind of like one of my fortes,
I don't think, I'm not, is it a gender thing? I haven't run across very many men that have that detailed organizing ability.
Yeah.
I'm sorry if I
Well,
misspoke
no,
speaking about
no,
that.
but I'll tell you what. Both my parents actually are kind of that was kind of like one of the things that they both, have, they really can focus on details. My father was like really like detail oriented on things that he did in his life.
And
So,
then they also were think in advance, David,
Yeah,
think
yeah.
in a year, in 2 years, in 5. That's great.
Yeah. So, yeah, when things start to slow down for me on my own shows, to where I'm not having like 6 or 7 production dates per quarter, then I like, well,
Wait, you more than that, isn't it,
well,
David?
I got 7 production dates for this next quarter coming up. So,
Oh, okay.
so that's
Actually, that could be like 2 a month, and that is a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, in a way, it's kind of like almost the way it's worked out for me. It's almost like 1 show a week kind of a schedule. It's turned out, but
So you are in a constant state of pre-production preparation.
yeah, yeah, but nothing gets done. I can do all the prep work as I need for for planning out my shows, but the final execution is dependent upon all the other wonderful volunteer producers
Absolutely.
that we have here at the studio.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, it's without everyone else coming in and volunteering, no show would ever get done, no matter what I do as a producer and planning. So
That is true.
this has been probably I've said it before to the producers here at the studio. This has been the most productive period ever in my life. In terms
And
of,
that's saying something, David,
so,
with your the one career that I know you've had previously is in photography,
Yeah.
but just talking to you, I know that you have done several
Yeah.
things.
Yeah, but this is like there's in my past life there's like I've done things and achieved things, but there's always like long stretches, in between achievements. And here this has been almost like a weekly achievement. I mean, basically, I'm coming in and executing these planned shows, but it's I'm just really thankful and grateful to you and everyone else here. The way the system here at the studio is so supportive of everyone, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. Like, I produced a program this morning,
Yeah.
and I looked around, and I think there were 7 people that came in and volunteered
Yeah.
their time and their expertise to
Yeah.
make, amazing programs.
Yeah.
So it just really wouldn't be possible without all these people that are
Yeah.
also dedicated in producing
Yeah.
programs.
And and it's like some of my past shows, like some of my episodes of my art shows, I've had as many as 12 people crew to, when I've got like the mobile camera,
Oh, yeah.
involved and stuff, and yet, at the same time, when the people come in together that help and crew on my shows, I'm looking not only as at volunteer producers, but now I'm looking at a group of just wonderful friends that are
Yeah.
and so it's been
That's
great
right.
that way.
Yeah.
So now you've got 2 shows that you basically produce here at RVTV. You have a Focus On and Animals Matter. Now, my understanding is that your Animals Matter, that's the first show that you developed, correct?
Yeah, that was the capstone project, as a matter
Right.
of fact, was Animals Matter.
Yeah.
Well, we've come a long way since that.
Yeah, well, you've done the same thing like Gems of the Road Valley was our capstone show for me and Cassandra. You know, technically you're not supposed to turn capstone shows into a series, but you and I have done that. So,
Yeah.
Now what's the focus on Animals Matter? What's your principal focus on that series?
Well, there's a animal advocacy group that I belong to, and so fortunately I have their support
Right.
in producing those programs. So they help bring in the guests, and a member from that group is usually the director of content. So it's to inform people of legislation, policies of various federal agencies that affect wildlife and domesticated animals and animals that we use in our food production
Right.
and entertainment, and really trying to inform the audience of what's going on behind the scenes.
Right.
And how so much of the time it's not on behalf of the animals.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because as humanity is, we're the dominant species on the planet, and sometimes we don't, think beyond our own interest in terms of how we conduct and affect everything else on the planet, including the wildlife. And and the fact is that many of the animal species that we share this planet with have while we might not ever able to communicate with them like we do to each other, they have a certain level of consciousness and intelligence of their own, and they have emotions, and they are affected by the environment around them, just as we are affected by our environment. And humanity doesn't seem to at times not pay attention or recognize that aspect of our relationships with the animal kingdom around us. So,
Well, it's great that neuroscience is coming out that shows that most animals have the same parts of their brain that holds the capacities that we as humans have, to love, to have joy, to grieve, playfulness. Yeah, so it's great in that way. And Gabe Bradshaw is a frequent guest on Animals Matter, and I love so many of the things that she brings out, such as all wildlife is struggling, and they're declining. They have no place they can call their own anymore. Man goes everywhere to the remotest locations of the world to go and kill them. And I struggle against that. I resent that. Why should a person who has wealth that can pay to go and kill one of the last 200 giraffes in the world. I'm
Yeah.
not sure if that's the right number. Because they have money, why should they have the right to do that? For me, the value is to keep them alive.
Yeah.
You know.
Now, we happen to have a video clip of one of your video projects that relates to your work with the organization.
Yeah, with Gabe Bradshaw.
Yeah.
She's the founder of and executive producer of the Carolo Center for Nonviolence. And she's located in Jacksonville, Oregon. On her property, she also operates the Tortoise and the Hare Sanctuary.
Right.
So I went out and visited just the tortoise part of
Yeah.
it and made this video from it.
Yeah.
So it'd be great to,
Yeah,
to
so
take a
if the
look
control
at that.
room can bring that up, and we'll watch that.
Great.
Present sanctuary is located in the Applegate Valley. We have 15 endangered desert tortoises. They're all special needs. They were either taken from the wild or they were injured in some way. And they came here 4 years ago from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife facility that was closing down. So they've been living here 4 years and we have 15 of them.
All of our tortoises are special needs tortoises, meaning they have had an arm or a leg lost or damage to their shell, which has resulted from a human or indirectly by a dog biting them or some kind of accident like that. They have been here for 4 years and are thriving and doing very, very well. Unfortunately, all of our animals are still captive. That is for their well-being and for their safety. However, we do everything that we can to make sure that they don't feel imprisoned, that they feel that they can take their own initiative, that they can make the decisions in their life. They're provided with food and water that is fresh, organic food, different kinds of areas to explore, relationships to make and cultivate, and they live in a very beautiful place, which is what we call Southern Oregon.
Hi, my name is Katarina. First of all, make sure everyone's here, not flipped over, because they do fall on their back sometimes. And then feed everyone and monitor how much they're eating. If they are eating, make sure. And if they're not, then take note of that or anything weird that goes on. And then we also soak them in a bucket of water so they don't get dehydrated, because they get their water through their skin. And they really like that. They'll sit in the water and stick their necks out, which means that they're enjoying it. It's a great place to be at and learn a lot about the personalities of all the different tortoises, because, you know, on first glance they might all look the same, but they all have very distinct personalities and behaviors, which is really interesting. And it's interesting figuring out how to distinguish each one. On my first day, I took notes of what each of them looked like if one had a smoother shell or if one was smaller. So that's how I would remember at first. But now it's become easier to actually identify them, even when they're all in a big group together.
Hibernating, which is called brumation for reptiles. We monitor their weight about every 2 weeks. So we go in very quickly, weigh them, not to disrupt their sleep. We look at them to make sure that there's no discharge, that, they're looking okay. And we keep track. And depending if they are losing too much weight too fast, then we take them out. And we had to do that to quite a number of them the first year because they were in very poor shape. But this is their 4th year. They did fine. They did great.
Yeah.
All right, so we're back. That was a really wonderful video there, Wanda, and it's, I watched that video and I thought, now here's like a gem of the Road Valley. So it's like, I could see me and Cassandra doing a story on them in the future for a future episode of Gems
That'd
of
be
the River Valley.
fantastic.
So
She's
it
doing
looks,
some great work out
yeah,
there.
and we like to really give, nice feature stories to organizations like that. They're doing that kind of work. So yeah, that'll be something down the road for us.
Great. When you're ready, I can give you the contact
Yeah,
information.
Yeah. So now the next series that you have here at the studio is a focus on. And recently you just completed kind of like a big special series of episodes in that series of yours called Tending the Threshold.
That's right.
So what's that all about?
Well, let me tell you how that generated. Jamie Powell is one of the hosts, and I met her through her resilience and resistance class. It was a 9-week course that I took earlier this spring, and it was just such a opening, amazing experience. And then she was having a meeting with Holly, and I was at that meeting. And by the time we were done with that first meeting, we had committed to doing a multi-episode series.
Yeah.
And these women are remarkable women in that they don't shy away from talking about difficult things.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that drew me to Jamie's class, is to, how do I deal with all of these emotions that I'm having around what's happening in our political system, seeing various systems collapse,
Yeah.
the environment. So I really needed a way to figure out how to deal with these things. And these women are able to talk about that in a way that it helps us stay regulated,
Yeah.
using some of their vocabulary. Yeah, so just this morning we finished that
That's right.
series, 10 episodes. And we've had some amazing people on the show with Jamie Powell and Holly Trular. And I'd like to mention their names
Sure,
if
go
I
ahead.
could.
Yeah.
Because there was Desiree Cotino, who's a spoken word artist, and we featured 2 of her poems in the programs. And then we had Louise Perret, Dr. Perret, who is she got her doctorate in women's spirituality. Then we had Dean Spillane Walker to talk about the environmental collapses that we're seeing happening everywhere. Then we had Blaine Alexander Lindsay, another spoken word artist, and he did an amazing poem called The New Dust Bowl. The New Dust Bowl. And then we had Kokai no Kaseri on, and one of his main focuses is on food insecurity and food apartheid. And then this morning we had Candace Younghands. I consider her a kind of a local celebrity in the work towards helping people find their truth, helping people heal transgenerational wounds. And then we had a really exciting spoken word piece in the hip hop genre by Luxar. And Luxar composed and performed the theme music for the series, Tending the Threshold. So, yeah, it's been an amazing ride, and
Yeah, well,
it's my great privilege to help them with that.
it looks like it, because I've assisted on most of the show production.
Thank you very much for that.
And yeah, I mean, there's some, you're dealing with some serious issues and trying to find ways of kind of dealing with them. at different levels, from individual to the community and beyond.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah.
And you know, and it's kind of in a way, I looked at your production as a really top-end example of what can happen at public access. You know, and able to produce, you know, a really serious discussion of issues that are affecting all of us, from the local to the global level. You know, public access isn't just all stupid comedy things, you know, and we all strive to do, you know, some good work. And you've definitely, with everyone that you've gotten involved, have produced a really wonderful, serious series, and it's to be commended. So I think it's a really great thing, and I would encourage you to put it, you know, that material out there into the film festival circuit, because I think you could do something with that.
Yeah, with all that you do, I don't know how you find time to also promote, you know, what you're doing. And we've met, we've talked, and
Yeah.
you've given me a lot of helpful information on how I can do that for myself,
Yeah.
which I would like to start doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you'd do pretty well, actually, in submitting to the right festivals out
thank
there.
you.
So, you know,
I wonder if we have time to play that video for Tending the Threshold.
I think we do. Yeah, we could go for that.
It just
Welcome to Tending the Threshold, a multi-part series where we talk about how to come together as things fall apart. We'll be inviting people into the largest conversation of our times, a conversation about anti-racism, decolonization, environmental collapse, late-stage capitalism.
Hello, my name is Jamie Powell, and I'm welcoming you to Tending the Threshold. This is a multi-part series where we deal with challenging topics that are alive and present in our world right now.
And when I shine a light on the lies, what I find is a play on a stage, controlling minds like a hive. When I was young, I believed what they told me.
Alrighty. Well, I thank you, Wanda, for coming on to the show. It's been great to be able to interview you and have you on the show. So I want to thank my crew and thank everyone for watching, and we will see you next time on the small interview with Glamour Dave. And that's it for this edition of the small interview for tonight. We're always eager to hear what you have to say, so follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube, and support this show at our Patreon page at patreon.com/GlamourDave. You can send us your comments to viewer@glamourdave.com.